Okay, I believe we're ready.
Okay.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Samarani Salazar, and these are my teammates, Freddy Carmona and Julissa Morales. Today, we will be presenting the topographic map and the means of how we came to realize it. The first step to initiating the process of the map was to create a point file. Due to the fact that we were given a PDF with a large quantity of numbers, the team thought that it would be best to import the whole file directly into Civil 3D rather than through point by point. In order to do that, the document had to be converted into a Word doc so that it could be transferred to Excel and then later into a notepad. Since the conversion is not always provide a clean file to ensure that all of the points would be transferred correctly, the Excel function concat was utilized in order to format the points in a specific order of point, easting, northing, the point elevation, as well as the description. These points were then copied into a notepad and imported into Civil 3D. Once imported, the points were then separated into different groups, such as the center of swale, the top of slope, and the toe of slope. This was done in order to easily locate them in case they needed to be edited later. As can be seen, this is a screenshot for the top of slope. This would also help create the surface of the map.
So we'll go ahead and play a video. I'll narrate how we created and edited the surface. As Ronnie mentioned, we created a group specifically for the surface. Once we created the group point, we used the create surface command in the tool space palette in the prospector tab under the surface command create surface. In the create surface window, we used the surface definitions in surface to be able to use the triangular irregular network. For the style, we use contours 1 foot and 5 feet. This would give us the 1 foot minor contours and the 5 feet major contours. Then we added a definition to the surface with a point group containing all the points. After going through this process, the surface should appear as you see right now. There you go. So after creating the surface, the next step was to edit the surface. To edit the surface, we use the edit surface style under the surface property tab. We turned on the 10 layer and went ahead and corrected the network. So the major corrections done to the network was correcting where the top and toe points connected to the ground points, as you see there. Since the points were connecting to the ground points, it showed a different surface. So that's how we corrected the surface, the network. On the next two slides, you're going to see how the surface changed after we modified the network connecting the points. On the first slide was before we modified the network, and on the second slide, it's after we modified the network. So notice how the contour lines in the center of the surveyed area and to the east of the surveyed area changed. And once we were done correcting the network, we turned off the 10 layer and then continue our drawing.
At this point, the surface is completed and all that's left to do is to make it presentable. So our team decided to include a cover sheet, which contains the horizontal control, vicinity map, an index and a description of the site. The horizontal control was not provided, so our team decided to use a found iron pin at the southwest corner of this tract and acquired the vicinity map from the Butler County website. On the next slide, you will see the completed topographic map on a 24 by 36 inch title block that we created. And on the next slide, on the next transition, you will see the detailed version of the topographic map. We included a property line following the legal description of the site and while closing up the area, we realized that the northwest and the true point of beginning did not close. So we corrected this by changing the length and angle of the northwest corner of the tract. And this changed the acreage by a 0.001. On the next slide, you will see the topographic map in color. And on the next transition, you will see it more detailed. Lastly, we would like to thank our advisors, Mr. Robert Temez and Mr. Jorge Vidal. Thank you. And are there any questions?
I guess I'll go first. First off, really great job, you guys. Can you just talk about any challenges you might have faced, both, with the pandemic and not including the pandemic?
I guess with the pandemic, it was difficult, I guess, to like get together and to actually have that interaction that we missed out on. Like we wouldn't be able to meet in person as much, or like we would always have to maintain our distance and practice the CDC regulations.
Was using Civil 3D like this new for all of you guys, or what did you guys struggle with learning how to use all the different skills in the AutoCAD?
Yes, Civil 3D was new for all of us, so we spent some time learning how to use it, and we did spend a good amount of time learning the the commands and stuff like that.
Are there any recommendations your team would have for future rule changes to the survey competition? I see some mouths moving, but you're muted.
I believe some recommendations for future surveying, I guess the map would probably just be I guess the timing of it. So for instance, like our team had to like meet several times, and well, of course, like during this whole pandemic, it was a little difficult. But other than that, or like specify like the program. So I know like other students could use like other several programs, but Civil 3D was the one like we chose. But other than that, no other suggestions.
I would like to add to that. Yes, I think a recommendation would be to really put the time into learning the program, because it would facilitate the doing the contour map, and it really did for us. But we did have to spend a good time learning the program, and I would say just put the time into it. It really pays off.
Thank you. I think that's all I have.
So how do you think learning this now is going to help you in your career?
I'll take that one. I really believe that learning new programs, that it will help us like in the field, because in our field, like transportation, even structural or like geotechnical, and I noticed how the program gave you those features to really work on those type of projects. Since I've used AutoCAD before, but AutoCAD doesn't give you those type of features. It's a little bit more of a generic program. But Civil 3D doesn't. Civil 3D expands a little bit that opportunity to really work on those type of projects, and it makes the work way easier than working with AutoCAD. Because personally, we were gonna work with AutoCAD thinking that it was easier, but we kind of spent some time looking for a better program, and definitely Civil 3D made our lives easier. So hopefully that answered the question.
I guess I have one more, and this is more just a personal opinion from you guys. Did you enjoy, or get more enjoyment / whatever? Did you prefer the topographic mapping or the leveling portions of the survey competition?
I'd like to go ahead and take that one. So for the topographic mapping, we all had to meet up, and I guess that kind of brought us together to kind of work on it. As far as the leveling, we all met up again. So both aspects of the presentation, I'm sorry, of the competition, they were both very helpful. and in a way, I guess they're both like they were both needed. So for us to like work on them together, that was very enjoyable.
All right, now that's really all I have.
Okay, I have one question for you guys. How did your results compare to the imagery that you use for the site?
Can you repeat the question one more time? Sorry.
How did your resulting surface compare to that aerial image that you guys use for the site of the location?
How does it compare? Well, I think it's pretty well, because what we did, we try to look for the image, right, for the vicinity a little bit more correctly, because we believe that it's not the whole part of that image, of that terrain. It was a part of it. And when we went into the Google Earth, I believe there's a building already there, but when we couldn't really compare like the surface as it was before. But there was no difference in the elevations other than that center of swell and on the center portion of the surveyed area. So we couldn't really compare that much, but since the surface, the level was a little bit leveled, it wasn't too much of a change of an elevation.
Thank you. Judges, any other questions you may have? All right, well, UTRGV, thank you guys for your presentation. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you guys can stick around to listen to the other presentations. Next up, we have Angelo.
Yes, sir. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
Your team ready?
Yes, sir.
Jenny,
Sure.
are you guys gonna share screen?
Yes, sir.
So is it
That one.
this one?
No, that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a lot open. And just
Okay, whenever
Does
you're
everyone
ready.
see
Let's,
yes, sir. Okay. Howdy, my name is Gilbert McCluskey,
I'm Daniela Munoz. And I'm Andrea Ramirez.
and we're to represent ASU for the surveying competition for the topographic mapping. So we're going to explain how we created the map and what actions we took, and explain why we took those actions to improve our mapping. First, we received the data in a PDF format. And so for the team, and we knew we had to edit some things out. So we converted it into Excel and we deleted any info that was not needed. But then we reorganized the information to help us for it to be easier to use in Civil 3D. And then after we reorganized it, we imported it into Civil 3D as a PNEZD because that was required for the competition. And as we imported into Civil 3D, we created a point group for all the point labels, for all the point data. And as we made sure each point data looked correct, we labeled each point in a label styled elevation from the ground shot point. But we had special points with extra descriptions. So we also added the extra descriptions to those points. But to make the map look easier to read, we also scaled the points from a 1 inch to 30 feet because it came out all like they were overlapping. And so we put in that scale for it to be easier to read.
So after establishing the point groups, a new surface was created. This was done to, I guess, basically tell Civil 3D that we will be working on a 3D project instead of 2D. From the point groups created, there were special points such as the toes, tops, and the center of swell points. These were connected with the polyline. And with that polyline, break lines were created on the surface definition. And these break lines were used to, I guess, establish or to portray any drastic changes in elevation, such as channels on the ground or any extreme divot points. Next, we worked on establishing the boundary square for the site. We began with naming the point of origin in a northing and easting coordinate system. And then from then on, we went on and labeled the length and the bearing angles for each segment. And we repeated that process until we completed the square. And then we followed the following format, as you can see on the PowerPoint, from south to easting coordinates.
So the most important part of our topographic map after establishing all these points was to get the contour lines. We made the contour line label style to the 1 foot minor and 5 foot major one. So the 1 foot minor means that between the contour lines, there is a 1 foot elevation increase, and then 5 feet were the boulder lines to see it better. So once we generated these contours on the surface, we realized that there were some points that were kind of jumped out that Civil 3D didn't really recognize as the right elevation to connect. So this is why we had to switch it to the triangular tin surface to see the triangles as seen on the PowerPoint, to remove some vertices and show Civil 3D where to go with the contour line. And then we converted it back to the contour label style 1 and 5 feet to get this smoother looking contour surface as we see on the image. The last part of this project was to organize our drawing in the layout space and convert it to a 24 by 36 PDF. In the paper space, we also added the legend, the scale bar, and description to finalize our drawing. And we also exported it as a land XML file as required in the submittal requirements. Thank you for your attention. Any questions?
What does PNEZD stand for?
For point, north, easting, and Z's elevation and description.
Can you talk about any challenges you faced, both with the pandemic and without the pandemic?
Okay. One thing that was really hard about the pandemic was we had to really work around just to make sure we all kept safe. Right now, we all have the vaccine shot and we felt safer to do together because we didn't have, all the team members didn't have access to Zoom, or their computers didn't have any cameras. So we had to share a laptop. And so we had to put little risk to do the competition with each other. We had to put ourselves in a little bit of risk, but we felt confident with each other. We always checked up on our situation, our health, and we felt pretty confident. But it was a little, we put ourselves a little bit of risk, and that was probably the challenging part, just to work together, because not every member had the resources to do it separately.
And challenges not related to the pandemic?
I guess with Civil 3D is the program is pretty complex, and we realize how important it is because some of us have jobs in the field where we use it on a daily basis. And you know, the big steps on Civil 3D are clear, but sometimes you have those little steps of adjusting the scale or adjusting to see some views on the layers. So those little details were sometimes took some time for us to figure it out.
Thank you.
How do you think we could make this more difficult outside of a pandemic? Because there was so much coordination inside of it, but you know, once you have all the access you need, what do you think would have made it more difficult, skill-wise?
I'm trying to think.
Like Civil 3D related or just
like the challenge, I guess giving the challenge or.
Right, like if what we had asked you to survey was more complex, I guess.
Complex elevation.
I guess if you wanted us really to, because this was just a fairly simple site, I guess, if it was something with, because here we just, as we said, we just created a surface with existing ground, and what we see in the field, there's a lot of existing and proposed ground. If it was something we had to compare those and see how it would interact with existing infrastructure.
So to touch on that, so you think if we would have given you a more developed area, would that be more challenging or easier for you?
A more developed area or something where we had to say, okay, we're developing something. So maybe if we had to make that comparison of, okay, this is a survey of an existing ground, and then how would we have to adjust the elevations and the contour lines if we were actually building something on there.
Do you have any recommended changes to the rules, either on the topographic mapping or on the leveling parts of this survey competition?
I don't think so. I thought I guess with it being online, due to the pandemic and everything going on, I felt like everything was, I feel like pretty well established as far as how rules go along, the steps or the procedures needing to follow. Of course, if it was in person, it'd be different. There would be more to it with actually going out and leveling. But I feel like with what we were given regarding the circumstances, I think it was a pretty good challenge proposed. I thought it was really done really well.
Okay, judges, any other questions? All right, Angelo, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And last, we have UT Austin.
Hello, I'll be sharing Megan Sanders.
Thank you, Megan. Jenny should be giving you access shortly.
You should already have it. Should be able to share.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, the floor is yours. You let us know when you're ready.
Alrighty, well, welcome. We are UT Austin surveying team. I'm David Garza, a first year.
I'm Hunter Hurt, a fourth year.
I'm Megan Sanders, a second year.
And I'm Sarah Wildenstein, a third year.
Today we'll be walking you through our process and how we made our topographic map based on the given data. We will outline this process and the importance of this kind of representation of the data.
In general, topographic maps are used in multiple areas such as geology, surveying, and land development. It allows for a 2D map to express 3D features with quantifiable data for the elevations. Lines that are closer together represent a rapid change in elevation, while lines that are farther apart represent a slow change in elevation, expressing different geological features. To start the map, you'll need to plot the points using the northing as the y-axis and the easting as the x-axis. And then you would connect the points with the same elevation, which have the same z-value. When the map is complete, none of the lines will intersect and you will be able to identify the features of the land.
Each point is indexed in this table with a unique number, the point number, and 3 numbers describing its precise location. Northing and easting describe the coordinate distance from the north and distance to the east from some point of reference of an arbitrary point. The z is the altitude above the sea level of each point. Each point also has a description.
So let's start off explaining how we created this map. So due to the fact that it was given in the PDF form, we had to convert it into a file that Civil 3D can read. So we use a picture program to convert it into a Excel document. And from there, we exported it to a text file, correcting any mistakes. So then we open up Civil 3D and go into points from file and click on our text file.
So in Civil 3D, the tool space is used to create things like assemblies, pipe networks, and alignments, and surfaces. For this topographic map, we created a surface in the tool space. We then added the imported point group into our surface. Since this was the only point group in the file, we were able to just upload all the points. And that gives us the drawing here where you can see that each individual red X represents the points that were in the survey text file. And the light gray lines are the major contours and the dark gray lines are the minor contours.
Next, individual point markers are removed and the contours are changed from 2-foot minor and 10-foot major intervals to 1-foot minor and 5-foot major intervals using the surface style window. The single contour labels were then added throughout the map in order to describe the height of each contour, but not overcrowding the map.
Finally, a document page was created with a viewport of the map, and we added details such as the title block and the scale.
We hope you enjoyed our presentation. Are there any questions?
Great presentation, you guys. Thank you for that. I guess the next question would be, do you have any advice for future teams? I guess you're UT Austin, so you know, the future UT Austin teams, what would you tell them?
I can take that one. I would say for these types of things that we've done through the digital section, through making this map, I would say one thing is just familiarizing yourself with Civil 3D. We take courses on AutoCAD in general, but none that focus on civil. And I think for civil engineering students, just familiarizing yourself with things like a tool space and properties tab, and being able to go in there and make some of the modifications that we did to create this map are really good skills to have for future competitions or future career.
I would also just say like putting together like a very diverse team of people think really differently. I think we all were able to kind of take on different roles, and kind of Hunter was able to tell us how to do this, and then Sarah could jump in and be like, oh, I know about this thing, and making sure you have kind of a team from different years and different specifications and specialties and stuff was really important for our team.
Now that you've got team members of all experience and have a couple more years in school and a couple people on their way out, how do you think that that's going to benefit the team in the future?
I definitely think it'll help, because I know like Hunter, it's his 4th year, so next year he won't be here, but he really did help. Like this was me and David's first year doing the surveying team. So now he can teach us, and then next year we could teach any new people that want to come in or anyone that's interested in surveying, because it is like an area of interest for most of us here. So it was really cool learning from him, and then learning so much that we could teach people next year.
What's the biggest challenge you faced unrelated to COVID-19?
I think it was just hard to all work on the Civil 3D program because it's a program online and we're all on our separate computers, and we were all in separate places because of COVID. But I think it was just difficult to kind of pass that through people and make sure that it was like delegated properly, and just everyone learning, but also getting the final product the way we would want to see it.
Are there any rules or aspects of the competition you change for next year?
I kind of like the things we did last year's competition, and I like aspects of what we've done in this year's competition. And it would be really cool to see both, obviously depending on circumstances related to the pandemic, in-person parts of the competition using actual equipment, but also still being able to incorporate some of this mapping and modeling using software. I think getting kind of a mix of both gives you a really good perspective on surveying as a whole.
Because I can speak, I know like here at UT freshman year, you take a surveying class. So like I know how to physically survey, but I've never used Civil 3D before. So it was really cool like learning how to take that actual like data that you can collect and then put it into a computer software.
Did you guys have any challenges, you know, not just importing, but understanding the data? Because like you said, it was a point file. And
Right,
it's
so
just text.
we had to do a little bit of learning about the different, obviously northing and easting and the elevations are kind of a straightforward thing to understand, but learning the different definitions for what each description means, and how that impacts what we're creating as far as a topographic map, that was new, and was something we had to kind of figure out.
Okay. Judges, any other questions? All right. Thank you, UT Austin, for your great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You all enjoy the rest of the conference. I think we're done with the surveying. So, thank you, guys.
Do y'all need it open a little bit longer? Are y'all good?
I guess we can get off now, right? We'll just,
Go to Discord.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.